they're up in the stratosphere, so they don't have to worry about anything interrupting them, and they found new land. Or until a cherubim knocked them out of the sky and said, "Look, y'all getting too far." That's Lock in and buckle up. It's your boy Jet Ski Chuck back with another creepy and scary TikTok reaction video. If you guys know what time it is, let's hit these waters.
These darkness night, boys.
We found Jet Ski Chuck.
Fire everything.
Hey, listen!
So you want to know about Starfalls? That's good. That's real good. Alright, listen to this. So Starfalls have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Nobody knows who built them. Some say the Tartarians, some say the Moors, but nobody knows for sure. There are many different types. You can get Starfall castles, Starfall towns, and even Starfall cities. And many people don't know this, but the Statue of Liberty is actually built on top of a starfall. Even the Pentagon is shaped like a starfall. So these starfalls was built to be a vibrational frequency ecosystem. It gathered and stored natural energy from the ether and the water, a bit like a power station. The technology that they had in the past was so advanced, it's amazing. Imagine if they never had no technology, no satellites. How would you remove the land and replace it with water for it never to grow back again? Just look at the shape and the detail. We sure don't make it like that anymore.
Starfords. I've never heard about them once in my entire life. Yet the water around it looks like, and it's cut like a golf course, and the water is just so, the edges are so sharp and precise. How did they do it? Was it the Moors / Tartarians? Let's dive into this and see what's going on.
For the largest masonry structure in the Western Hemisphere. Who decides that this is a good spot for the largest masonry structure in the Western Hemisphere without any fresh drinking water in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico? Literally. Is this logistically possible in this time period? To ship 16 million bricks onto this little piece of land? What is going on here? It's clear that the land was formed perfectly. Which company in the 1800s were in the business of land creation in the ocean? This is all the way at the end of the Keys as well.
We show people at work pictures of pyramids and star forts. You know, star forts always blows people's mind.
Yeah, my friend really likes going to the national park in Florida. It's called Dry Tortugas. It's a star fort. It's an old fort. And they're beautiful and they all look very similar. And it's, I mean, as far as the architecture goes, it's the explanation that they give, kind of like that whole World's Fair rabbit hole. It never makes sense.
I'll tell you what I think they are. When I was going through this and I was looking for answers, because answers never come in straight lines for whatever you're searching for, but I always felt like they would come to me. And I was into star forts. And one day I showed this guy at work, right? He's this older guy and he was from Germany. And he had married this woman, moved out, and he goes, "Oh, I know what those are." I go, "Of course. What? How do you know what those are?" He goes, "Well, I'm from Germany, old place in Germany." He's like, "People don't understand how old those are." And he goes, "How huge?" Because they were used to take the land back from the sea. And he said that there's tunnels underneath there that are so huge, they go all over the world and they move water. So that's his explanation.
Much older than Columbus, eh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, much.
How interesting is that? Were they using some type of sound vibration frequency to burrow these tunnels somehow to have the water transport? Because if you look, the water, it stays still in all these star forts. So we're going to keep diving in deeper on these.
You've probably heard about the mud flood theory, but have you ever seen how such a thing could have actually been accomplished? This footage is from the 1922 World's Fair in Brazil. It was called the Independence Centenary International Exposition, and it took place in the city of Rio de Janeiro. They're using a tactic known as hydraulic mining or sluicing, in which high-pressure water jets are used to move soil and rocks. The resulting water sediment slurry of mud can then be directed through sluice boxes and channeled elsewhere. Hydraulic mining originally developed from ancient Roman techniques that used water to excavate soft underground deposits. The more modern form using high-pressure nozzles officially came about in the 1850s during the California Gold Rush era. Isn't it interesting that this tactic appeared during the same time frame that we see the World's Fairs occurring, which is also the theorized time frame of the mud flood? And then we see this very technique being used at a World's Fair event. Something like this could be implemented by a relatively small number of people to either bury or uncover entire towns. Is this related to why we see so many half-buried buildings all over the world? Remember, the winners write history, and it looks like the World's Fairs are the plot hole in their story.
What? How crazy is that? That kind of lines up to all these star forts, how the water's coming up out of nowhere and how they're channeling. That's lining up a little bit. Drop in the comments what you think about the star forts and that vibration machine and the world fairs. Talk to your boy.
Some Lakota tribes tell a story of their creation at a site called Bedote, meaning where two waters come together. It is the spot between Minneapolis and St. Paul where the Minnesota River meets the Mississippi. There are also many small mounds near this area, and the Lakota tell of this being the site of their creation. They also believe that this exact spot where the rivers meet is the exact center point of Earth, and sure enough, the only star fort in the state is sitting right here. And there are caves all throughout this area as well. This to me is no coincidence. Like the theories say, either they built this star fort here on top of this sacred focal point on Earth for a reason, or possibly some version of it was always here. Star fort or no star fort, this site is extremely interesting, and it is one of many just like it with similar stories. There's something about these star forts that they're built along ley lines or on top of much older sacred sites.
Asked a lot. I think they're a form of transmutation circles. What are transmutation circles? Just take a look here and I'll tell you why I think that in a moment. Basically, power points that dictate the flow of power, tapping into the energies that are already all around us. Just take a look at some of these transmutation circles. Take a look at the one in the bottom left right there. Get to that one in a moment. For those who keep hidden the secrets of the old world and keep it in plain sight, these type of symbols can have powerful uses, and they are found all over this realm. Remember some of the star forts we looked at in Antwerp? Take a look at them closer. And how about now? They're all giant transmutation circles. Or how about the recent chaos at Burning Man? What does that look like to you? Let's get a better picture. Do you see it now? Gee, what can you do when you put a whole group of people in a giant transmutation circle? Well, another great show a lot of you have been telling me to watch, and I finally got done watching. Take a look at some Full Metal Alchemist. Let's see what happens.
Last I heard, they've only got 4 labs left in the city. The 5th laboratory. We've got 5. It's a transmutation circle. The entire city.
You mean it's connecting all the laboratories into a circle?
There are powers at work that have been operating in plain sight for so long. These star forts are places of power, feeding off the energy of the earth all around us and our spiritual energy too. There is no coincidence. Question everything, friends.
Man, Full Metal Alchemist, I never realized that. Oh my goodness, the pieces are lining up. What are your thoughts below? What are they doing at these star forts? Go take it back to that ancient Tartarian machine that was sending shockwaves into the ground. What are they really doing?
Look at Tennessee. Look at the pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. This pyramid is still there. Of course, they built the glass pyramid on top of it, but you saw the buildings. All of this shit was here when these people came over here. and they fought us and ran us in the wood and said we lived in teepees and shit. World Fair, look it up.
Not this fair. We want the World Fair. Can you believe we went from World Fairs to these? Like, I literally type in fair and this is what's coming up. You know, man. They if you think about them now, they pack up and move just like the World Fairs. You know, kind of ironic. What if you just changed the semi trucks that they used for these fairs to Tartarian blimps they used to use back in the day, the Zeppelin?
Jet Ski Chuck show them the ancient airships. How they really moved them bricks.
What type of technology is this? It's bouncing with the frame. If we look at this airship, it is bouncing with this frame, so it's definitely authentic if you ask me. Yeah, this is a creepy and scary TikTok for real. Look how it's coming up out of... What is that? Are these guys using some type of chemical to make it so they can come through this portal? What are they doing here? Are they making like a false ice wall? This is hard to CGI, y'all. I'm riding with this. For entertainment purposes only, I'm riding with this. And if I'm riding with this, we gotta look at this plane creating some type of dimension fluid. So where is it coming from? And
So many of you confuse these airships with these dinky little blimps we have now. This was the construction of the Hindenburg. And a few cross sections to show you the massive size and scale behind these. These airships were massive, able to carry large amounts of crew, material, explore the North Pole, as you see here with the Norge, the first people to actually explore the North Pole. That is one of the big benefits over these airships from the fixed-wing aircraft we have today. Exploration, free and easy travel throughout this realm. You could set up these mooring stations here pretty much anywhere. And they were easily able to load and unload passengers right from the front hatch. Now I think these airships have been around a lot longer than they told us. Just looking at some of the detailed maps they had back then to what we have now. And now that we don't have that easy exploration option, the maps have drastically changed. It wasn't just amazing houseboats they were able to float down the rivers and waterways either. They were able to have these airships dock on boats as well. Like I said, mooring stations could be built anywhere. Could even have the airships just land on the water themselves. And I don't need the NPCs in the comments talking about, oh, they go boom, and the Hindenburg, it went blown up, it's dangerous. Hey, take a look at the Hindenburg itself. If you actually bother researching it, see how false flaggy that looked. Again, this is all just my personal opinions though. I just want you to question everything, friends. Until next time.
Wow, that was some great information. Shout out to the Dr. Generated for that information. That is huge. Game changer in my opinion. We can almost see something, create something to make this airship go through. This is not your average airship. We know that they had portals. They were working on portals to get all these buildings built. But using this definitely sheds new light. We're getting somewhere with this. For sure. And he's coming through whatever he's spraying. You can almost see through it. Am I tripping? Because what are these little black things? But the technology, they're spraying something and they're able to come through what they're spraying. They knew this was going to happen because look how they're filming this. Whoever's filming this is in a plane. You can see the plane and, you know, they're like, all right, he's about to bust through this portal, this spray portal.
Many of you confuse these airships with these dinky little blimps we have now. This was the construction of the Hindenburg. And a few cross-sections to show you the massive size and scale behind these. These airships were massive, able to carry large amounts of crew, material, explore the North Pole, as you see here with the Norge, the first people to actually explore the North Pole.
I know, I don't think they can go beyond the ice walls with these bad boys. Come on, y'all. All they gotta do is just stay in the air. And they're saying it's low fuel cost. They can make these stations anywhere. These boys was traveling with these. How come they don't have these stations everywhere? You know?
That is one of the big benefits over these airships from the fixed-wing aircraft we have today. Exploration, free and easy travel throughout this realm. You could set up these mooring stations here pretty much anywhere. And they were easily able to load and unload passengers right from the front hatch. Now I think these airships have been around a lot longer than they told us. Just looking at some of the detailed maps they had back then to what we have now.
And that's another good point. You know, if you look at all those different maps that we were getting now, they were able to take their time and survey it. Not really, you know, going by at 500 miles per hour because they got to keep the plane afloat. You know, you see all these hot air balloons. It wouldn't be that hard to design an airship that was safe, is all I'm saying. That's my opinion. And if you can design something that took its time and was safe, you can do some long distance travels. And it sounded like they had it pretty down packed. For entertainment purposes only. Don't come for me. It sounded like they had it down packed. They had these stations they can pop up. Looked like they were air fueling on the top of these towers.
Now that we don't have that easy
charged
exploration
up.
option, the maps have drastically changed. It wasn't just amazing houseboats they were able to float down the rivers and waterways.
They had these giant houseboats. How cool is that? I know we got houseboats now, but you don't really see them like this. You know, it's always a yacht or something, you know? Let's craft some basic houseboats for people, you know?
Either. They were able to have these airships dock on boats as well. Like I said, mooring stations could be built anywhere. Could even have boats as well.
Look, they charging up with the ether. You know, what else is they getting charged up with, y'all? There's no way they can have that much gas. I'm sure they could have some type of fuel, but if you ask me, they getting charged up with ether. And they can make these stations by themselves. Oh my goodness. Somebody's not telling the truth, you know. It's common sense.
Like I said, mooring stations could be built anywhere. Could even have the airships just land on the water themselves. And I don't need the NPCs in the comments talking about, oh, they go. Hey, take a look at the Hindenburg itself. If you actually bother researching it, see how false flaggy that looked.
That airship is massive. You could easily fit a lot of people in there, way more than a plane. I'll say like triple the amount. You know, safe travel for everyone. They probably was those boys was probably free back in the day. You just had to wait in line.
Again, this is all just my personal opinions, though. I just want you to question
Look, they landed on the water. They said we don't need nothing. We'll just land on the water.
everything, friends. Until next time.
And who knows how much weight these things could hold? You know, we talk about how all these buildings got built. Well, they might have been able to hold a little bit of weight, but I don't know. See, there they go, moving fast again. Hold on, let me go back. They said these are loading docks for the free energy. How cool is that? This could be the same system that the pyramids had. I seen where some people said that the UFOs landed on top of the pyramids. The pyramids getting charged up and beamed up from whatever the mercury or whatever type of however they doing it, but they getting charged up and beamed up from them pyramids. They land on a pyramid, get charged up, move to the next one. You got pyramids all over the world. So look at them as Tesla charging stations for these even more advanced ships that they had probably back in the day. This was probably just them recreating it the best they can from the pyramid. They're like, oh, the pyramids had airships, you know, so they was like, let's try to do our little version. We could do them with the airships. Hey, it's working close enough for entertainment purposes only. We're getting somewhere. They tell you what it's called. Here, y'all can't see that. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure y'all see it. Hold on. Victory column compared to a standard morning mast. All right. I don't know if y'all can see this, but what it's saying, they're showing you how this is the blueprint. How come we're not doing this? All right. Let's see what I gotta do. I gotta make an airship. We're making an airship and we're going past the walls. We're making a giant airship. We're gonna need this tower. We're gonna need about 3 of these inside the airship so we can drop them on our journey to charge back up. We're gonna need a lot of copper and we're gonna make it work, y'all. Just wait on it. It's coming. We're making an airship and we're getting these charging stations all over. And it's gonna be free. All of it's gonna be free. You wanna go to California to Florida? It might take you 10 hours, but it's gonna be free. We're not in a rush. Safety is our main priority. You feel me? Hold the phone. Pinnacle. In Dutch language, pinnacle, which relates to docking station for airships. Oh, that's what pinnacle means. We hear pinnacle, gotta reach the pinnacle, the tippy top of the mountain. That's a docking. Oh, we got y'all for entertainment purposes only. They're laughing at me. Nobody believes me. This is all we're all laughing. This is for entertainment purposes only. That's major validity pinnacle. Somebody look that up and give me confirmation in the comments. Why those boys was copper? Oh no. They said the top of the pyramids used to be gold. But I would say their mainstream of transportation and back in the day, they was getting charged up by these boys, and it was these airships. That was their main way of transportation. They talking about the world fairs? Oh, y'all don't know about the world fairs? Oh my God. Hold on. Them boys had copper at the top. So they were using the ether from their fireplaces, and it was being double used as charging stations for these airships. Man, that's tight. How efficient as well too. Every home has a gas station, free Tesla charger. Hold on. Don't tell me he's dropping down material. Don't tell me that's what they doing. Oh my goodness. Is that how they did it? They're using these airships to portal across the world, and they're dropping materials. Wouldn't they crack if it was marble and all that? Every time I do one of these, I just have more questions, y'all. It gets deeper and deeper on these dark waters, man. They definitely did that. Oh wow, we got y'all. We caught y'all red-handed. That's this, ladies and gentlemen. I introduce you to the Metro bus station, to the ancient technology. There it is. Get in line. There'll be another airship in 30 minutes. You missed this one. Wait 30 minutes, there'll be another one to take you to France. Oh, you in Japan? You wanna go to Cali? Don't worry. The airship will be here in another 30 minutes. It's gonna be a 24-hour flight. So sit tight. I hope you got your snacks. We land in Germany. What is this? Interesting. Guys, your thoughts below. If you ask me, that could have been the main source of travel back in the day. It looks like they had airplanes. So, I don't know. This is gonna be a good one, y'all. I can feel it. Let's get back on these waters.
Macon, just a few of the many airships. Yep, the U.S. Navy had quite an extensive collection of airships. Meet the USS Los Angeles, Akron, and Macon. Just a few of the many airships in the U.S. Navy's arsenal back then. And there were even flying aircraft carriers capable of loading and launching squadrons of aircraft from their underbelly. It was.
How come they're not doing that now? That is such a good idea.
wasn't just the Hindenburg that was the titan of the sky. These airships were quite commonly used. Even the Royal Air Force had their own fleet of airships. And that's just the ones they tell us about. Like I've said, it's the reason for the whited out skies in so many of these old world pictures. It's the reason why we have such detailed and accurate maps back then, especially of places like Antarctica.
I'm sorry, why is the sky white out though? Like on some Matrix type stuff? Did they had to reset it to get the sky back normal? What happened? Why is the sky white?
Long before Antarctica was supposedly even discovered. And then we have the true maps of the North Pole, which now we have nothing because we can't even go there. But the shots of these airships from the US, truly awesome, showing just
They were definitely dropping materials.
the versatility of them, whether having aircraft or being able to land on a moving battleship. They were also well known for their water rescues, being able to launch boats right from the bottom of them as well. Of course, as I said in the previous video, there's many reasons why we don't have these anymore. I think none of them are because they're unsafe or dangerous. The little tin cans that we're packed into now, called aircraft, going only on the approved flight routes, or just the amount of cost savings it would take to operate one of these versus a regular airplane. Especially for exploration and surveillance. They can hide up in the clouds forever. Question everything, friends. Until next time. Tartaria was a civilization that spanned across this realm. You can see them here in this map from 1617. My fathers. Now officially, the mainstream narrative tells us they are nothing more than a placeholder by European cartographers who didn't know what lied beyond the West. There's where Russia would be, including Moscow. You see that? And here in an older encyclopedia, they even have their own country's flag. You can find the Tartarian symbol throughout many architectures across this realm of ours as well. There's a reason why here in this old article, the Okran Gazette, it was called the Great Wall of Tartary and not the Great Wall of China. Built by the Tartarians to keep the Chinese out. Has so much amazing buried old world history. Especially in the town of St. Augustine. This very nice urban spread here for a population of just over 4,000 at the time. And of course, that population needed such a big hotel. Sadly, the San Marcos, built in 1885, burned down in 1897, lasting just 12 years. But let's focus on Fort San Marcos. Said to be constructed by the Spanish in the 1600s. It is the oldest masonry fort in the continental United States. And I believe this was once a part of many forts in the area. Take a look at the Google Earth spot of it here, and right above it, see what looks like the destroyed and partially sunken ruins of a much bigger star fort system. Just look at all that man-made shaped coast there, especially in the top left, looking a lot like those massive star cities that I've shown you in a lot of previous videos in Europe and other places. Also, fun fact about Old World, Florida, it's also home to Fort Jefferson, the largest brick masonry structure in the whole of North and South America, right in the middle of nowhere in the Gulf. But back to Fort San Marcos, not only the oldest fort, but it was also the first golf course in Florida. That's right, this town of 4,000 definitely needed a golf course and found no better place than right on top of these ruins. They, of course, built a golf course right next to it later on, and the National Park Service owns the land now, and that is a great way they stop us from digging up our true history. Why do you think the national parks own 80 million acres? The same reason we have almost 16,000 golf courses in the U.S., many of them subsidized by local governments to keep you from digging where you're not supposed to. The parasite's history is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
This was built by Moorish Tartarians. And this was built
Oh, we've got your ass. We've got your ass now. This is the La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And the people that said they built this, they didn't build it. This is what you call Moorish Tartarian. So the mainstream narrative says they started building this before Nelson Mandela was alive. They said they started building this before Morgan Freeman was alive, before World War I and World War II. They're saying they started building this at the last reset in the 1800s. So you're trying to tell me this took 141 years to build and you still haven't finished it yet? There's still scaffolding on the roof, brother. So they like to say the original architect suddenly died halfway through. And they rely on funding every year to, no, listen mate, don't lie. You haven't got the blueprints for this one. You don't know how to build it. Because look how ugly and mash up the building really is. This is what you call melted brick. This building was here before the mud flood. This building was there when the Moors ruled Spain. And when you look for construction photos, all you get is something like this. This don't look like a building site. This looks like a reset rescue mission. So no, you man didn't build that building. The Moorish Tartarians did.
If you ask me, the Moorish Tartarians knew they had some type of flying technology and they were dropping off pieces at a time. It was mass produced at one specific location by masters that had laser cutting technology. They had the resources, just all traveled to them, and they were using these aircrafts to transport the materials. That's how they were building them, and that's how they were getting around. You heard it here first with Jet Ski Chuck. Drop in the comments below what you think. I used to speculate, man, they were going through portals, which with these Star Forts, it could have been possible. There are some stuff that are called portals around, and they could have been giants that would help, lift and carry the things at the initial location. But if you ask me, my thoughts on it, it was these airships that was picking up these different materials they were pre-built homes. All these palaces and cathedrals, they were all pre-built. That's how you get them on all these crazy locations. Like there's a castle on a hill. How else could you get it there? It was these airships. All they had to do was make the foundation. When the foundation was set, like it said in the good book, make your foundation solid upon rock, I believe. Once they had that foundation laid, then they were able to handle these magnificent structures. Let's dive deeper into this. Oh, this place looks Tartarian. Moorish Tartarian.
Right here.
Man, look at that place. It is beautiful. These things.
San Luca. Allora lo hanno fatto parecchio, a come erano le gente là, non erano nere, erano un po' scuri.
Non erano neri.
No, erano un po', ma questi con
Look at this place. Could this be one of the buildings the airship dropped? I mean, how could it? I definitely think these buildings was dropped.
anni ha preso un colore un po' più oscuro, diciamo.
Però lei ha detto che è dell'epoca.
Sì, è uno dei più antichi che ci sono.
And each is defined by their complex curves that defied all conventional architectural rules. Complex curves that defied all conventional architectural rules. These buildings were born from the mind of Antoni Gaudí, born in 1852 to a family of craftsmen. Antoni Gaudí found much of his inspiration and meaning in architecture by following the patterns of nature, using the beauty that he saw as a gift from God as the ultimate blueprint to the world. Gaudí himself once said, "Originality consists of going back to the origins," and that he did. These complex intertwining parabolic forms, created in a time before computers existed, are so complex that his magnum opus, the Sagrada Familia, a building which began construction over 135 years ago, is still under construction. Today, we're going to learn its story and why it has taken generations to complete. Sagrada Familia began construction in 1882 under the guidance of architect Francisco de Paula Villar, who resigned a year later, allowing Gaudí to take over at the age of 30. Even at this young age, Gaudí saw his opportunity and set out to make the project his masterpiece, transforming the project and incorporating his signature style, combining Gothic and Art Nouvelle architecture to create something completely new. Sagrada Familia looks like the work of evolution rather than design, like a giant elaborate termite mound whose blueprint was carved from the laws of nature. Gaudí was not just a master architect. Designing buildings in creative and innovative ways is the challenge of an artist. He was a master engineer. He understood how these shapes impacted the structural integrity of the building and allowed physics and nature to dictate his designs. Rather than fight against the laws of nature, he worked with them. He bridged art and science like no man before him. He understood that nature is defined by the laws of mathematics, and to him, this was the ultimate celebration of God. Columns mimicking trees and skeletons, arches mirroring rib cages, seashell-inspired spiral stairways, spires emulating crystals, and ceilings that rival forest canopies for natural beauty. Their designs are all rooted in natural phenomenon, but for a human mind to recreate them in stone took a man with true genius. So, how on earth did Antoni Gaudí design something so complex in an era when computational analysis did not exist? Evolution has happened upon these complicated structures through trial and error. Natural arches are the work of chance. The weak simply fall before we can witness them, while plants developed cells capable of sensing the direction of gravity to influence their growth patterns, and bone cells are stimulated to grow and multiply when placed under stress. Nature is the ultimate form of intelligent design, and Gaudí pursued a simple concept to guide his replication of these designs. The challenge that Gaudí faced was one of material strengths, his primary building material being Montjuic stone, a type of sandstone. And like all stone, it is strongest in compression. Place a rock in compression and it can withstand enormous pressure, but place it in tension and tiny imperfections in the rock allow cracks to grow, and soon the entire stone will fracture along those cracks. The challenge with constructing structures using stone is primarily one of keeping the stone in compression at all times. This has been a well-known building technique for thousands of years, but it was the Romans who truly saw and utilized its potential. Unlike ancient Greek structures, characterized by vertical posts and horizontal lintel constructions, Roman buildings are defined by arches and domes. They raised massive structures, like their famous aqueducts and the Pantheon Dome, structures that still stand today, a testament to their sturdiness. The arch's strength is derived from how it transfers weight to the ground. Let's compare a post and lintel structure and an arch spanning an equal distance. As long as the posts remain vertical, they will remain entirely in compression, the downwards force of gravity squeezing the stones against the unmoving ground. However, the horizontal beam, the lintel, will experience both compression and tension as
These beams were laid there by the airships, piece by piece.
it sags from its own weight. The upper surface will bend inwards, causing compression, while the lower surface will experience tension as it is stretched. This severely limits its structural strength. An arch, in comparison, allows the force to be distributed neatly across the arch. There are no hard corners to allow bending stresses to develop. The reaction force from the ground can travel smoothly up the same path as the force of gravity takes downwards, allowing the stones to remain in compression and thus allowing the arch to carry more weight. This imaginary path is called the line of thrust, and modelling it was Gaudi's specialty. Designing with these concepts in mind is relatively simple with a 2D structure like an aqueduct, but expanding it out to form something as complex as Sagrada Familia is a whole other ballgame. Even the simple columns of the basilica's interior split and diverge like growing trees. The flying buttresses of the Passion facade sweep outwards and defy belief that they could possibly remain standing when they are constructed from nothing more than sandstone. So, how did Gaudi do it? Simple, he used strings. When you hang a flexible material like a rope over a gap, it has no rigidity to allow it to remain in any position other than the one that allows it to remain in pure tension. Hang a rope from a single point and it will hang directly downwards, the entire length of the string in tension. Hang it between 2 points and it will sag downwards, until once again the entire string is in tension. Add more weight and it will sag with a deeper parabolic arch to allow it to remain in tension. You can see a pattern developing here. We can use strings to map out these lines of thrust, but we want our stones to be in compression, not tension. How can we apply this to stones? Simple, take a photo and turn it upside down. Gaudi started by drawing the footprint of the church on a piece of wood at a 1:10 scale. Next, he attached anchor points for the strings in locations where he wanted support columns to exist. From there, he gradually started adding strings.
What if this is a rare photo of the actual strings that was connected to the airships before they dropped these pieces? What we're looking at is a piece that just got dropped. Open your eyes, question everything. Keep your head on a swivel.
Strings and weights. The weights were scaled to represent the actual weight the columns would need to support at about 1/10,000th of the actual weight. This weight was scaled to represent the difference in stiffness between the string and the rock that it represented. He tinkered with this string model for a decade before he was content with its final form. He used this model to inform his design work. In this reconstructed model underneath the Sagrada Familia, you can see the shape of the building beginning to emerge. This was the skeleton upon which he would carve his masterpiece.
We are enablers. We make enabling
Gaudi devoted the rest of his life to carving this model, designing the intricate facades, each depicting stories from the Bible, adding detail that few would see, and as the project ran on, Gaudi withdrew from life, rejecting any additional projects. In 1914, he made his home inside the Sagrada Familia workshop. His obsession with his final masterpiece took over his life. He neglected his personal appearance and became a disheveled recluse. His days were devoted to praying and overseeing the design and construction of the Sagrada Familia, and on June 7th, 1926, disaster struck. At the age of 73, Gaudi was struck by a tram on his daily walk to confession and was left to die in the streets. Passerbys did not recognize
if you look at this where they started rebuilding, I'm telling you, these things was dropped off by airships piece by piece. They probably had 4 more trips to finish this thing off, but they didn't happen. They took off before they could stop with the airships drop offs. All these old school Tartarian buildings, they're pre-manufactured boys being dropped off by airships. We found it on these waters. We was looking and we found it.
Attempts to piece together the shattered models back together were difficult, as pieces were either too damaged or missing completely. But the designers that took up Gaudi's vision worked with what they had. This is now their story. This is where this story really begins to captivate me. This building has taken so long to complete that it has spanned not just generations of engineers, but generations of technology. The passage of time has led to some increases in production rates, but has also caused its fair share of delays. Sandstone comes in a wide variety of colours due to differences in impurities. These can range from blues and greys right through to pink and red. When construction began on Sagrada Familia, this sandstone was in plentiful supply from the Montjuic quarry. It's this stone that gives the Sagrada Familia its distinctive tan colour, while also having a high quartz content, making it more durable than most sedimentary rocks. But as the decades passed, the stone began to become more scarce. In 1954, when work began on the Passion facade, the limited stock of the stone quickly became apparent. Soon the sculptor's hands became idle, as the stone's availability was limited to whatever was left over in stocks or what could be scavenged from other buildings in Catalonia. 1,000 meters cubed of the stone was made available when the old Olympic Stadium was remodeled to increase spectator capacity. When stone was not available, they resorted to bricks, which can be seen in many of the cathedral's towers. But recycled stone was always preferred when possible. As the project drew on, these sources began to run dry, creating a bottleneck in their supply chain that prevented work from continuing. The project's managers were forced to start looking for alternative supplies.
This is a beautiful shot of you just seeing how they butchered this building. You know, like I said, man, these airships was doing it piece by piece. I cannot stress this enough. I am excited to tell you guys this. This airship, they might have had seven trips on this airship trip. By looking at this could have went way taller. This could have went way taller. It just closing it too fast. You can look at the geometry and you can tell that this starts to curve when it's not supposed to. It's, you know, at least it didn't finish.
From around the world. Over the past few decades of construction, the cathedral has incorporated various variants of sandstone and granite from around the world, doing their best to match their colour and physical properties to the original Montjuic stone. Stone from Galicia, Cantabria, Scotland, England and France have all contributed to help finish the Sagrada Familia, while other stones have been sourced to meet more specific aesthetic requirements. The passage of time has come with plenty of setbacks, but in recent years, technology has provided many blessings. Obvious improvements like modern cranes are noticeable, yet probably underappreciated by the general public. 3D modelling softwares have slowly caught up with Gaudi's genius. Early civil engineering software was too simple to recreate his designs, but architects working on the project discovered that aeronautical engineering design software could model the complex curves Gaudi envisioned, and the project actually resulted in a merging of these softwares to improve civil engineering modelling techniques. Cash flow has increased drastically over the years too. For decades, the only money the Sagrada Familia received was through donations to the church. In the early days of construction, these donations came in dribs and drabs, but today the church has no shortage of funding, being one of the most popular tourist sites in the world. Since it opened its doors to the public, Sagrada Familia has been raising a consistent and reliable cash flow from the millions of tourists that pay to visit it every year. This helps pay for the materials and workers needed to complete it. But those workers are not always easy to come by. The art of sculpting has slowly withered away over the past century, and skilled craftsmen are difficult to come by. Here, technology has come in to lend a helping hand. Sculptors still play an important role in the process, completing delicate tasks like
Man, they are butchering that building, aren't they? They don't have the original blueprints. I can't stress that enough. So they are completely Las Vegas put it together the best way they can, butchering it.
Surface texturing, but today most of the heavy-duty cutting is now done by CNC machines, which can cut the stone exactly to requirements and ensure perfect fits between the pieces for the internal steel supports. Because today the workers are not assembling the towers stone by stone like in Gaudi's time. They are using tension steel bars running through the center of the stones to compress the stones together and form a larger.
That's how the airship dropped them all off. They didn't do it. They didn't build that original castle stone by stone. They had these boys getting dropped off just like this from a quarry, where I don't know. For all I know, they could have been traveling from the Grand Canyon back and forth just because that's where all their architects, that's where their top, designers, that's where they had their laser cutting technology. I don't know. But they had to be getting it from a specific location. It was a trip back and forth till the thing got built. That's why they're saying most of these buildings only took 6 months. This one probably could have took a year if nothing got interrupted like it did. They probably could have had this thing done from 6 months to a year that fast by dropping these boys off. Airships explain so much when it comes to how fast they got taken apart. Because all you need is airships just to come pick them up again and drop them right back off at the quarry. I'm like, we'll fix that little edge, that you hit. You weren't supposed to hit that. We'll give you a point for, hitting that. Don't hit no more edges on the rest of these projects. Who knows? It could be a giant quarry where they have reused parts back in the day. That could be how they did it. And that's what, for entertainment purposes, that's where I'm at.
Panel, allowing pieces to be partially assembled before being lifted to the tower and assembled like a giant stone Lego set. This has drastically decreased construction time. With all of these advances, the project is now expected to finish.
We are behind. I'm going to interrupt this dude all day because he's sending people off. But they had the precision to get it done quickly. I'm telling you, they are struggling. If you guys look at how bad they are struggling to complete this, the fact they only did it in 6 months, they were efficient. They knew what they were doing. These buildings were getting created all across the world.
Far sooner than originally expected, by 2026, on the 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. The building has undoubtedly diverged from Gaudi's original designs. The sculptures of the Passion facade are nothing like the sculptures of the Nativity facade built during Gaudi's lifetime. Colours of stone are off in places. The difference in weathering between the Nativity facade and the newer parts is particularly noticeable. The architects that took up the mantle of Gaudi's masterpiece could never have finished it exactly to his vision after his plans were destroyed. But I have no doubt in my mind that Gaudi would be proud to see his creation finally come to a close. Entering the basilica, you are met with floods of colour from the stained glass windows, each depicting stories from the Bible.
I believe those stone glass windows was probably already there, mate.
While filling the interior with colours reminiscent of rainbows, sunsets, and light piercing through a green forest canopy. I am by no means a religious man, but there is something inherently spiritual about this building, and I think any person who shares that same awe of our mysterious existence on this planet will feel the same. For me, that is the root of all religions, and to me, this building is the ultimate celebration of spirituality, through its celebration of nature. In the end, I believe.
Alright, we're done here. This scary TikTok hits a lot harder now after watching what just took place.
Oh, we've got your ass. We've got your ass now. This is the La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And the people that said they built this, they didn't build it. This is what you call Moorish Tartarian. So the mainstream narrative says they started building this before Nelson Mandela was alive. They said they started building this before Morgan Freeman was alive, before World War I and World War II. They're saying they started building this at the last reset in the 1800s. So you're trying to tell me this took 141 years to build and you still haven't finished it yet? There's still scaffolding on the roof, brother. So they like to say the original architect suddenly died halfway through, and they rely on funding every year to, no, listen mate, don't lie, you haven't got the blueprints for this one. You don't know how to build it, because look how ugly and mash up the building really is. This is what you call melted brick. This building was here before the mud flood. This building was there when the Moors ruled Spain. And when you look for construction photos, all you get is something like this. This don't look like a building site. This looks like a reset rescue mission. So no, you man didn't build that building. The Moorish Tartarians did.
Look how terrible that is. This is a reset rescue mission. He couldn't have said that even better. Shout out to the Bully Slayer, the OG of this. He said that a year ago. I'm just now catching on, you know? Damn, Moorish Tartarians. But something important I wanted to bring up.
Let's talk about... Oh, we've got your ass. Because look how...
Now, I'm just sitting here looking at how massive this building is and how they didn't finish. What if the Tower of Babel was built the exact same way? It had to be, because they didn't have scaffolding back in the day. I guarantee it, because there's no way we're just going backwards by using scaffolding. What if they had everybody in the world using all their resources to build something just like this? You had like 20 airships coming in at a time, and they're just stacking on top of each other, stacking it like one giant Lego building. And this thing reaches the heavens. That's how the Tower of Babel got created. If you ask me how the Tower of Babel got created, they were stacked by the airships, you know, and it got out of control, you know. People were, you know, that was probably the best way of building. Think about it now. We're chilling today. Think if you could get a house today for $50,000 just dropped off to you by an airship. Do you know how tight that would be? You know, everybody would be doing that. You know, now you got to get what is called a pre-manufactured home. Semi trucks are coming. It's going to be pieced together already. But you spending half the money hooking it up, you know, and it just doesn't make sense. You know, when they had literally everything you needed dropped off to you with the airship, and then it just dipped off. Man.
Button, and the writing slope comes out. So if you wanted to be able to write on something or read, you had an extra slope. Then on the sides, you press one of the buttons, and a secret drawer comes out. You press another button on the inside, and secret drawers come out on the end. You press a button on the side, the lion heads come out. On the other side of the desk, which we've just turned around, what we have here is Socrates. And then you press a button further here, and two more drawers come out. Another drawer at the top. Press a button, more drawers. And then you press another button and another one. Every desk needs a centerpiece. And here's the centerpiece for this one, where you open it up, the drawers come out. Of course, these are secret that lock, and then even the center drawer comes out, which is secret. On the top of it is an eagle, which is a symbol of the Roman Empire, of course, the strength of... First,
the full music box was crafted in 1870, and it's like with every passing second of this video, the stunning beauty and craftsmanship gets more and more mesmerizing. Just take a listen to the beautiful melody it makes.
Wow, no electricity? How are the wings flapping and the mouth moving? Wow, that was fascinating. I wonder if we still can build something like that. I thought it just was going to be like one or two different instruments, but they had the drums, the bells, the bird whistling. That was interesting. How old do you think that was?
If you liked the music box from my previous video, you are going to love this amazing songbird that is over 100 years old. It sounds so amazing and lifelike, you would swear it's the real thing. This is something in the era of cheap plastic crap we couldn't hope to replicate today. Sure, you can make something that runs on batteries, the cheap plastic voice box made at some overseas sweatshop, but it would never last hundreds of years like this. And I don't think we could make it sound or look near as realistic as it does here.
Who made this? How did he get it? There's no way. Is this all off one spin? It might have just
Hearing
needed a
this
little oil.
reminds me that we truly are going forwards in reverse. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
That was insane. He barely cranked it once. And that you're telling me that was made 100 years ago? That was incredible. It sounded just like a real bird. If someone put that right outside your window and cranked it, there's no way you can tell that was a speaker. You'd be like, man, that's a real bird. And if you didn't see the mechanical boxes underneath it moving, you'd be like, that bird is going crazy. How did they do it is the question. Who is the creator of that? And how come we don't see him anymore? Got some more ancient tech. What is this, a lock? It looks like a lock. Wow, that was a lock. This has to be the... It takes 2 keys? How tight is that? Man, these were before their time. Who made this? Yo, what they doing with old Mickey? Oh Lord. What type of coin is that? Oh, maybe they use honey for some type of medicine, maybe. Damn. Hold on, was that laser cut? Is that how they possibly made these structures? Using some sort of freak? Man, they're flying on these pictures. Hold on, man. I wish I could slow them down. They are flying on these boys. Look at these. The designs. Where can I see these? Man, all these patterns are incredible. Like, my eyes can't absorb it all, and they going at the speed of light. Man, who can enjoy these videos this fast? Okay. Yeah, there's something about these buildings, man. Like, these boys supposed to fly away or something. Why is this a completely different color? Where are these? Oh, that last one was beautiful. Hold on, let me go back. Man, that is incredible. That elephant. The detail and precision. Like they 3D printed these boys back in the day. Look at that, y'all. There ain't no way. These boys was 3D printed. On this creepy and scary TikTok, they show us cathedrals that produce energy like microwaves. Basically, ions form within the magnetic field. Showing us again how these energy generating cathedrals are just sitting in front of our face, hiding this energy. None of them were designed to ever have glass over them. Streams of ions within the magnetic field form within the cavity resonator, symmetrical vacuums. Here he demonstrates it. You know what them boys resemble? Crop circles. Every time we see crop circles, that's what them boys look like.
From this height, Oliver's Castle, one of the most often debated observations, was made early one morning in 1996. A young man who had spent the night here and had brought a video camera with him was woken during early dawn by a humming sound.
Here I'm standing at Oliver's Castle at precisely the same spot as John Whaley was standing in August 1996, when he supposedly, for the first time in history, managed to film the creation of a crop circle.
Look how the frequency just opened those boys up. You could barely see it, but look. They open up.
That the crop circle was...
I'm going back. They're not beaming nothing. There's no type of particle beam. This is all frequency. Look how them boys frequencied up. Vibration and frequency. This is real. For entertainment purposes only. This vibration and frequency is real. This is not fake. Entertainment purposes only. They probably was just trying to show us a frequency like, hey, this is what you got to do, man. This is how you get the energy cracking. I see you guys hooking up all these wires. Why? When all this free energy's up in the ionosphere.
That the crop circle was not here on the previous day but had appeared on the following morning was a fact. That John Whaley was here at dawn could be confirmed by a military...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut them off. But look, tell me this don't look like the Cathedral Boys we just was watching. You know, they try to give us the step one. Like, look, you don't got to be all dynamic like those Tartarians was back at those old cathedral buildings. You don't got to go crazy like that. This is the basic one. At least y'all can do this basic one, y'all. Come on. I feel him. I feel him trying to communicate and try to get us looking like this. I get it. Entertainment purposes only. Don't come for me.
patrol that happened to be jogging by at the time. John went to the local pub later that same day and showed his film to the people there. Even so, many believe that he had managed to manipulate the film with computer animation in the meantime, something that computer animation experts doubt.
Who has time to do that? Who's going to sit there and be like, all right, let me perfectly animate this, even though that would be extremely difficult to do for this video, and be like, look what I found, and then go that hard after it. Come on now, this ain't fake. This one ain't. This is real.
Overlay a perfect animation over a handheld unstable film would need several days of work using the computer equipment of that time. Even today, the film is still a great mystery, and John has gone underground due to the intense interest that his film created.
John, we believe you. Guys, your thoughts below. Do you think that was a real footage of crop circles the first time ever filmed? Your thoughts below. They trying to tell us about these frequencies and energies. They saying y'all need to catch up, man. We over here on this island, you know, zooming around, free energy. Man, we got other stuff to worry about. You know?
And if you actually do something with your hand like that, the crop breaks very easily and stays.
Jack Torrance is angry.
And of course, it looks fairly authentic to somebody doesn't understand crop growth.
He awoke early one July morning and found a large section of his barley field had been crushed by unknown culprits. Even worse, the formation was already drawing hordes of the curious into his fragile crop.
Real, my opinion, that isn't real. And I had one earlier in a piece of barley, and it's pure vandalism, to be quite honest.
A large formation can wipe out hundreds of dollars worth of grain, so most English farmers try to discourage further trespassing by blaming nearly all formations on vandals, even though not one of these vandals has ever been caught in the act, nor are the alleged crimes reported to police or insurance companies.
No, not reporting the actual crop circles. What we will actually get is farmers reporting people on their land who've come to see the crop circles causing a certain amount of damage.
For thousands of foreign visitors, the best view of the circles is from the air. Small planes do a brisk summertime business. From above, it's easy to spot man-made formations, which seem to lack the symmetry of the real thing.
We get people come from Japan, Germany, Switzerland, United States, Australia even. They've all got their own theory about what's causing them.
The problem for serious researchers is to get to the crop formation sites before the word gets out. The site behind me formed just this morning, but has already drawn a crowd, and evidence is being trampled. But some startling discoveries have been made, dramatic differences between hoaxes and the...
That's the real thing. Did you see how it was swirling like that? Each grain was perfectly swirled, just like those decorations on those buildings.
Genuine article. In some circles, the very cells of the plants are expanded, as if they'd been exposed to high heat. Microscopic blisters can also be seen. And electrostatic energy has been detected even days later.
Electrostatic energy. What's the definition for that? What's the definition for electrostatic energy? We got to figure that out real quick. Come on. Where's my little search? Definition for electrostatic energy.
According to Wikipedia, electric potential energy is a potential energy that results from conservative Coulomb forces and is associated with the configuration of a particular set of point charges within a defined system.
Electric potential energy is I didn't say potential, did I? What did he say? He said electrostatic. See?
And electrostatic energy has been detected.
See, they try to get us, man. They try to put words in our mouth. Electrostatic definition.
Here's the definition of electrostatic: relating to stationary electric charges or fields as opposed to electric currents.
So can those vibrations that's coming out of those cathedrals be electrostatic? I wonder if she'll answer that. Can the energy coming out of the cathedrals be electrostatic? Of course they go to say that. My fault. For entertainment purposes, don't come for me. They said, nah, you on your own with that one.
Detected even days later.
I can feel it here.
What happens to the plants themselves rules out all known explanations.
We have still substantial scientific evidence, changes in the plants at cellular level, molecular level, the germination of plants that are growing 40% faster than the variety of plant they came from. These are many things that have to be answered.
Plants growing 40%? Where have we heard about that? Wasn't it like something you could do with copper that would that would raise the energy field of the plants? I believe copper does have something to do with it. There's something with this electrostatic and copper that makes plants a lot bigger. Huh. This is interesting. You got to think about the old days when all the produce and everything was bigger. What maybe the electrostatic energy was a lot more thrivable on the ground, you know, with all the giant trees and everything. Just a little something to think about.
For you to destroy DNA requires either high energy particles, something like high energy deuterons, protons, maybe high energy beta rays, or gammas.
Who possesses such technology? Many witnesses think there's a connection to the strange lights reported over the grain fields, lights which are often followed by military helicopters. George Knapp, Eyewitness News 8.
Those helicopters, man, what they own, man? Why is it every time something happens, there's some helicopters right afterwards? Man.
So I've been talking about electroculture success stories. Wait till you see this one.
It's a couple of weeks since I spoke to you last, and here we have another insane bumper crop of veggies that have come from a handful of plants. And quite frankly, there is no reason for hunger in the world for the sake of a bit of wire and some copper. This came from a courgette plant. How insane is the size of this? This is, you know, the size of the cucumbers we're getting. And they are juicy, they are sweet, they are huge. So anybody can do this. For the sake of getting a piece of copper, winding it round a stick or a piece of bamboo, getting some fat antenna that you can create and shoving it in the ground next to your plants, this is the result that you will get. And I'm immensely proud of it. I'm not used to growing vegetables. I've never done it in my life before. This is my first attempt, and I couldn't be prouder. What makes me even happier is that I'm able to take this down to the Chard Hub for the people who don't have gardens, who don't have any food, and we can share this wonderful bounty. So, as I keep saying, electroculture rocks, and I'm really pleased to be showing you this.
Wow. Basically, she just said, it was kind of tough to hear that when I turned it up as long as I could. But basically, she's saying she just put a copper rod into her garden, and the electromagnetic energy caused the plants to be triple in size. Triple, and it was juicy and sweet. You know, it's not like they just growing big and they nasty. No, they came out juicy and sweet. I can't wait to start a garden. If I ever do one, guess what I'm throwing in? Some copper rods, y'all. Electromagnetic, electrostatic, electro gardening. I don't know what it's called, but it's the truth. For entertainment purposes only.
They don't want us to find electroculture. These strawberries were not doing too well. So we added an electroculture antenna. 1 week later we found insane results. The bushes were double in size. Learn more on our website. They don't want us to find
So does electroculture really work? I gotta say I was skeptical myself. But let's take a look. I can say I've never had carrots this big in my garden before. And look at these peppers. Aren't they beautiful? The chili peppers are thriving. And my cabbages are the size of basketballs, weighing in at 20 pounds. The potatoes were bountiful. So what do you think? I'm giving it a thumbs up. So does electroculture really work?
Tony Stark in these plants. They put an arc reactor around these plants, y'all. I love it. And look how cool it is. I think it's a great idea. I heard you can talk to them too. You talk to your plants, they grow. So you got to hit it with the copper rod. You hit it with the spring water. And you hit it with talking to them. Man, them boys going to come out juicy. Save me some, man. I told y'all about it. If this is your first time hearing about it and you do it, save me some. At least save me some seeds of them boys. Please.
The benefits are so clear, yet nobody is taking advantage of this incredible scientific process. Go look for yourself. This system was adopted by farmers all over Australia, Africa, China, but not America. Why?
So when you create these antennas and you start placing these into your garden, you'll start to notice your plants will grow faster. You'll start to yield more food. Your plants will be bigger, right? You will get bigger food, like tomatoes that are maybe 2-3 times the size, potatoes that are 2-3 times the size. So,
of course, but I think this is going to be a good episode to come back to for most people that would like to introduce someone new to this topic of the old world, or a simple reminder of what we have been told is the truth versus what is really going on in front of our faces. Now, I have been seeing a few people across multiple platforms that haven't really looked into this topic, that are saying that just because we have done this before and can see the buildings here in front of us, this automatically means that we are able to construct these buildings today if we wanted to, even though we never do and never will. We have all the tools and make mistakes all the time. Our buildings and bridges fall apart after 100 years, but the ones from the 1800s and much longer before that were built with perfection and not one flaw, thrown together in less than a year, without blinking an eye. It was simple. Perfect stonework, never a mistake. Remember, in 2023, we use actual construction companies. We have the tools. Not slaves, not prisoners, not horses and wagons. We are supposed to be so much better than the people of the 1800s. This is what they tell us. This is the mainstream narrative. Evolution, of course. But we have proven time and time again that the people from the 1800s built Capitol buildings over and over and over in less than a year. Basilicas, cathedrals, all over the world. They get burned to the ground by a fire. And then a few short months later, the old one is all cleaned up and a new one is there forever. They could knock out entire towns in a few months, entire world's fairs. They supposedly were able to build these buildings so fast, so well, with untrained workers, people that have never constructed anything before, prisoners, people that went to jail for any reason at all. They could all build cathedrals in every country, in every town, in every century, except for this one that we're in today. They built so many of them and so fast that they could just afford to knock them all down when they were done. This is what we're told, of course. In my opinion, none of this happened. In my opinion, these buildings are from the previous civilization, and our entire history timeline is a complete fabrication. And this is proven time and time again. And the fire story gives it all away, every time. In Texas, more specifically, 414 St. Joseph Street, Gonzales, Texas. And why are we here? Well, they have the Gonzales County Courthouse. And in my opinion, the narrative is lying. Are we all ready? Here we go. The contract was awarded to Furman Morin on June 26, 1894. But wait, there's something weird going on here. We're told that this wasn't the first courthouse on this site. This is the second building to serve as the county courthouse. Well, what do you mean this wasn't the first one? What happened to the first one? The first Gonzales County Courthouse burned down on December 3rd, 1893. Do you notice how fast they tried to throw that in there? It was like they thought we wouldn't notice or something. Of course we will. This is what we do. Look at how they worded it, too. They didn't even say the first building or the first courthouse. They just quickly say the first burned on December 3rd, 1893. And they just want to move on like nothing happened. So we get the nod. Another fire story. Very interesting. And also the clear giveaway that this is a building from the past civilization. In my opinion, and a reminder that there was never a fire here on this site. This is simply a nod to their group that this building is from the old world. Now, let's continue shredding this nonsense apart. We are told that the second county courthouse was completed on April of 1896. The contract was awarded in June of 1894. They get their superintendent for the construction in 1895. And then in April of 1896, the building is done. And this all happens in basically 2 years after the first one burned down. And it's weird, because it takes almost as much time to find the superintendent as it does to actually build the entire building, and it lasts forever. So let's get this straight. They are telling us that December 1893, the first one is in flames, and we have no idea who built that one, or anything about it, and don't ask any questions about that one. And then 6 months later, it's gone, and all cleaned up by June of 1894, and the contract is ready to roll. And from June 1894, we wait until some point in time in 1895, so at least 6 months, but could have been 18 months. Since they don't share the information, we have to speculate. So let's meet in the middle at 12 months to find a construction guy. And then he knocks this thing out somehow by April of 1896. Who believes that he did this in less than a year? How many people worked for him? It's just weird that they tell us that he was just an owner of a quarry that had limestone in it. Now all of a sudden, he is a construction superintendent guy that builds massive courthouses in a year. Wow, the 1800s were incredible. You could truly be anything you want back then. Amazing. And a total joke of a story. This is absolute insanity that this kind of stuff is what we are supposed to believe actually happened. We all understand that in order to build a massive courthouse, you would need to get all the materials there. We would need to have a proper amount of construction workers that are properly trained. This quarry owner can't just go build it himself. We would need the proper equipment, incredible architecture. The planning had to be perfect. Using the specs that they give us on this courthouse, I asked ChatGPT a question, and the answer was eye-opening. I asked hypothetically, how long would it take to build a courthouse in 1895? And how many men would you need? I asked if it could give me a breakdown of how much material would be needed, and also include other details that are important in constructing a courthouse that covers 2.7 acres. I explained that it is a building in a Romanesque revival style, with eclectic details, meaning it covers other types of architecture designs, and that it will be built with red brick and white limestone trim. Now these are the specs that we are given from the mainstream narrative. This is what they tell us. They tell us this information because they have to. The thing is literally sitting here looking right at us. For anyone that wants to go look at it, you can walk right up to it and see it. Or you can see a picture of it as we are right now. So let's see what this AI tells us. We are told that constructing a courthouse in 1895 in the specs that they stated would have been a significant undertaking. And here is the breakdown. Just the design and planning would have taken pretty much a year. Just because it's 1895, you still need permits and approvals. This happened in 1895. This isn't cavemen days, where you just get to build massive buildings and not tell anyone about it. So the fact that they're ignoring this part of the story over and over is crazy. This would have taken another couple months. So then we move on to the materials. We are told that the amount of red brick needed would depend on the design and size of the courthouse. Courthouses that cover 2.7 acres could use hundreds of thousands to millions of bricks. This is an unbelievable amount of material just for bricks alone. The process in getting these materials to the site is not easy. So then the white limestone trim. 100,000 cubic feet of limestone. The wood for interior elements, including flooring, stairs, and doors. A substantial amount of wood would be required. Then we will need steel and glass, and not just any glass. They have to be perfect for windows in the Romanesque revival style. Now, of course, the best part, in my opinion, because they don't even mention any people that helped this quarry owner guy. The labor, the number of workers needed would vary, But constructing such a massive courthouse might require hundreds of laborers. Hundreds? And not a mention of one in this story? And this isn't even to build it in a year. This is just saying to build it in a respectable timeline. So to build it in a year, there had to be way more than hundreds of workers, like we're told. Amazing. Okay, you would need bricklayers, carpenters, masons. Oh, did I say that? Steelworkers, and general laborers. When we are told that slaves and prisoners built these places in a year, just remember this and ask yourself if you think this is true or not. Now we have the construction time. Given the scale and complexity, construction could take several years, perhaps 3 to 5 years. The Romanesque revival style, with its ornate details, would require careful craftsmanship, which takes time. So these workers had to have been trained and been good at it, especially finishing it in a year. This is insane. How are these workers not world-renowned? Wouldn't there be statues of them? They probably could have made the statues themselves in their backyards in a couple of days, since they were so good at it. And now, of course, we have the ridiculous part of the transportation. Transporting materials to the construction site. And before we get into this, I want to mention this, that they don't mention this in the story. And I think they don't on purpose, because it is so insane. Here we go. Transporting materials to the construction site would require horses, wagons, and likely a nearby source of limestone. Okay, so the horses and wagons moved the 100,000 cubic feet of limestone from the quarry. What a joke. Now they will need tools, of course. You can't do this without tools. So here's the tools and equipment section. Tools of the time would include hammers, chisels, saws, cranes, and various other hand tools. Just hammering and chiseling away in 1895 to 1896 with their horses and wagons. The fact that they tell us these buildings go up all over the world in a year is such a lie, in my opinion. You'd need a source of water for mixing mortar, and for the workers. If it's a large project, which this one definitely is, you might even need on-site housing for the workers, which they don't have on-site housing for the workers. Have you ever seen a narrative say this? No. They ignore the actual logistics in every narrative. You need people to build these places, and people need things, such as housing, food, water. This is common sense, yet never mentioned. Stone carvers and artisans would be required for this work. What was their names? Did the quarry owner do that himself? No. Which company had pro stone carvers and artisans? And of course, supervision. You'd need a skilled supervisor and project managers to ensure the work proceeds smoothly and to quality standards. And this is literally the only part that we are given. The only part we are given is the person that should be watching over all of the things that actually have to happen. I'm going to put this in sports terms. They're basically telling us the name of the coach for the Patriots, and then forgetting to tell us all about Tom Brady, or the coach's name of the Lakers and the Bulls, and not saying anything about Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan, or Dennis Rodman. All we get is Phil Jackson and Frank Vogel. This is insane. This is not working anymore. So I asked it to be more specific with the timeline. I said, so in all, how long would this all take? It responded with this. Given the complexity and scale of constructing a courthouse, covering 2.7 acres in the Romanesque revival style, with red brick and white limestone trim, in 1895, the entire process could take 1 year to just design and plan it. Another several months to permitting and approvals, several more months to a year for the materials, and 3 to 5 years to build the building. So in total, it mathematically and logistically should take anywhere from 4.5 years to 7.5 years. This is unbelievable, considering so many times we are told that a building goes down in a fire and then another one is built in a few months. This kind of brushing it off with a few months kind of thing isn't working anymore. And I don't want to end the episode yet. I want to go even deeper and even more specific. So I asked, how many horses would they need for this project? And here we go. The horses would be needed for 6 major things in this project in 1895. Transporting, milling and lifting, general labor, site grading and excavation, water and power, cranes and heavy lifting, and getting the cranes there to the site, of course. This would take 20 to 30 horses to finish the project in 4.5 to 7.5 years, not 1 year. So we all understand. they would need way more than 30 horses. And we all understand that horses need water. Remember, this is for 30 horses for possibly 7.5 years. I want to make that point extremely clear. This is not the 1-year timeline that we're told. Now here we go. Let's absolutely destroy the narrative and end it forever. That any building anywhere in the world, like this one, could not be simply built in a year and just brushed off with zero explanation. How much water would the horses actually need? This is a key point that cannot be ignored, like it is in the mainstream narrative. A typical horse would drink anywhere from 5 to 15 gallons of water per day for a project like this. This is to properly keep the horses hydrated, or they will die, especially in Texas, where it's extremely hot in the summer months. For only 30 horses, you would need 300 gallons of water per day. This is only 10 horses over 7.5 years. Where is all this water coming from? Why is this massive point ignored? The point alone proves that this project did not happen in a year. This is such a horrible slip up for the narrative. And it is the most important part of the logistic project that needs to be taken care of. Without the water supply for the main transportation for the project, none of this happens anywhere in the world in the 1800s. From this point on, a narrative that tells us that they built a building in a year in the 1800s without explaining the massive supply of water for the horses should be looked at as a lie. Incredible. This is a major failure by the narrator, a massive flaw that now opens the floodgates. This narrative is not possible. Did they think that we would never question this? And now we know that this type of construction is not even close to possible. We are waking up to the nonsense. We are educating each other, building a group of people that are not just accepting lies and actually questioning. We are looking into things, and the more we look, the easier it gets. The more answers we find, and the more truth comes through. And the more that we know, the harder and harder it is to lie to us. Once you know the truth, like I always say, you don't go back to not knowing. You are now awake, and you will take this information with you and apply it to the next story, where they will tell you that a building was built in a year by a quarry owner that never built anything before and never again in his to compare the Great Fire information to. The Temple building was the tallest building in Chicago. You know, the building that was owned by the Oriental Lodge, number 33, which still meets today. And it also holds the narrative where the primary designer of the building and the primary representative, both of them, not one, both, died during the construction, which we have seen so many times. Where we also know from episode 58 that they moved to the new Masonic Temple in 1926, where it's time to take this up a notch and really start to put this whole thing into perspective, and also go even deeper than we did in our last episode, because there is so much more to this story that we didn't cover yet. When the new building supposedly replaced an even earlier venue on the exact same site. So what happened to the first one? It opened in November of 1903, when the fire broke out 1 month later, in December of 1903. 1 month later, during a performance and caused 602 deaths, and ranks as the #1 worst theater fire in the United States, even to this day. For nearly 100 years, this fire was the deadliest fire in one building in U.S. history, with September 11th now being #1. And get this theater was supposedly fireproof. 1 month after being opened, it burns down. This is incredible. And we have seen this exact story before from our St. Louis episodes, when they say that the fire started due to lighting the curtain on fire. So this curtain starts on fire, and the fire exits were locked or hidden, which sounds like a planned event in my opinion. Even if this wasn't a planned event, let's think logically here. In 1871, during the Chicago fire, when 17,500 stone and brick buildings were magically burned to the ground, even though we know that stone and brick does not burn to the ground from house fires, which is why you have stone and brick fireplaces inside your living room. And everyone all over the world remains extremely calm, and your neighbors don't seem to mind either. It doesn't and never will spread to their house or to the basement. It won't make your house look like a bomb went off, and I guess I should say don't try this at home, but come on, you get the point. Do you think that it's possible that they possibly by chance might not have been able to escape their homes? Or they were maybe up too high in one of the buildings to escape? Do you think that a group of people may have had some trouble escaping their building? Do you think that it's possible that more than one of the 17,500 buildings somewhere in Chicago that look like they were exploded might have crumbled on top of someone? Or is it even possible that maybe a single issue might have came up anywhere, like this theater did, where the door was jammed? They say that the Chicago... This is my opinion, of course, but I think this is going to be a good episode to come back to for most people that would like to introduce someone new to this topic of the old world, or a simple reminder of what we have been told is the truth versus what is really going on in front of our faces. Now, I have been seeing a few people across multiple platforms that haven't really looked into this topic that are saying that just because we have done this before and can see the buildings here in front of us, this automatically means that we are able to construct these buildings today if we wanted to, even though we never do and never will. We have all the tools and make mistakes all the time. Our buildings and bridges fall apart after 100 years, but the ones from the 1800s and much longer before that were built with perfection and not one flaw, thrown together in less than a year, without blinking an eye. It was simple, perfect stonework, never a mistake.
Cover it up. Man, they trying to cover it up. Who knew Chicago had all these different type of old world buildings? It makes sense now. It makes perfect sense. Chicago was probably yuking back in the day. Drop in the comments what you think about that one.
Demolition took place. What other buildings were in this area? Now I'm going to jump into the main event. Here we go. We have the First Baptist Church, located in Chicago, Illinois. The mainstream narrative should help anyone that's on the fence to get off of the fence and come right over here. They should have just said it was built in like 10 years so that we didn't even question it. Instead, they tell us this. The cornerstone was laid in 1865, and in 1866, 1 year later, the church was completed and occupied. So what, like 8 months they wrapped this thing up? Chicago is freezing in the winter months, so it had to be less than 12 months. And the most insane part about this is that we have the Chicago fire 5 years later. So they're trying to tell us that they built this in a year, right before the fire story. The main tower is 225 feet high and is entirely of stone. Simple stuff in 1865 to 1866, with horses and wagons. How many people did they use to build this? Which construction company? Who did the stained glass on the site? Where did the materials come from? What is going on here? Well, let's dive deeper into this. The First Baptist Church was organized on October 19th, 1833, with 19 members, including the founder. Of course, his name is Freeman. Unbelievable. So he was responsible for a totally separate church, the first house built for religious worship in Chicago. Of course he was. Freeman. Oh, and this one was constructed in a few weeks in the 1830s. This sentence right here is classic. When Rev. Allen B. Freeman, with his wife, arrived on the 16th of August, he found the church building ready for use. All done and completed. The Freeman just found a church. Can we all see what's going on here? This is not written here by accident. Here is where the story gets even weirder and even more sketchy. Remember, in 1834, this Freeman found the first church in Chicago. And what do you know? This totally believable story happens the exact same year. For 2 nights and 1 day, Mr. Freeman watched with the suffering animal that supposedly he takes off on foot the rest of the way home. Gets sick. Was this Freeman even real? Watches an animal for 2 nights and a day? The same year he finds the first church? I'll let you decide if you believe that. We all know my opinion on that one. So the church is taken over by Hinton, and now only has 20 members. And here we go. We have a connection. If you've seen episode 30, Old World Richmond, you're gonna enjoy this nod. Mr. Hinton was born in England, but came to Chicago from Richmond, Virginia. Of course he did. The old world city of Richmond. Amazing how they use the same characters to explain stories and buildings. Okay, should we prove that this is an old world building? I think it's about time that they give us the nod. Here we go. In 1850, they were deciding on a new location, and they found it on the 1st of October. What is this? Only 8 months later, the church building was destroyed by fire on June 26, 1851. So then they find another building within a year. And on October 20th, 1852, this church building caught on fire from sparks from a tobacco pipe of a workman. It was totally destroyed, and a new church needed to be built. So I'm going to say this right now. Everything up to this point in the narrative is now null and void, in my opinion. It's all nonsense to get to this point. So they built another church between July 4th, 1853, and November 12th. The same exact year, it's all done. Just pumping these churches out in the 1800s with ease. This is also the second time that they have mentioned the date of July 4th. Come on, narrator, don't get lazy on us. Well, at least they're done with the date of July 4th for today. Oh, wait. What? No, they didn't do it again, did they? Of course they did. Hinton was also born on July 4th. Is anyone else still trusting this nonsense? Still on the fence? I think it's time we go even deeper. Not only did Freeman find the first place of worship in Chicago, his friend Hinton also wrote the first book in Chicago. Amazing and totally believable. No books, but knocking out churches in a few months, over and over. Makes total sense. Oh, no. It actually doesn't make any sense. Now remember, like we talked about earlier, the main building that we've been talking about was said to be built in a year as well, from 1865 to 1866. And here it is. Its fate took a tragic turn 5 years later, during the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. The fire took out much of the city, also consumed the First Baptist Church's building, along with many other structures. So they end up building yet another building. This is absolutely insane. This is a clear example of them explaining away another old world building. So let's see what's on the corner of LaSalle and Washington streets in Chicago, Illinois. And let's turn this thing around and zoom out a little. Look at this. Wow. And now we have found another one. Yeah, that is no church. We have like 40 pillars constructed up in the air. This is unbelievable. And I want to point something out really quick. Do we all remember when we were told that the main tower is 225 feet high and is made entirely of stone, yet a fire took this building out? Well, stone is not flammable and does not catch fire. Was there a fire or was there a demolition? We have been lied to about the basics for far too long. We are now investigating, no longer under their spell, picking apart the stories that have been force-fed to us, and we are now finding the truth. Once enough people understand that we are being lied to by all individuals that have supposed power, they do not have our best interests in mind. We will return to being free and in control of our own lives, once and for all. Don't forget that there are a bunch of brand new t-shirts. You can find that right below this video. Every purchase really helps support the channel and goes towards more boots on the ground work. Liking this video and commenting helps to share this video with new people, as well as when you subscribe to the channel. I couldn't be.
Shout out to My Lunch Break for that awesome video. Dang! Creepy and scary TikTok just went in. And that was by My Lunch Break. I am a huge fan. I just discovered him. Man, that was top tier Dark Waters content. Thank you so much for that. Go check out My Lunch Break. I just became a huge fan. Let's dive back into these star forts. We saw how they're building them. We see that they're covering up stuff. What about these star forts? What was the purpose?
Why have we stopped making magnificent works of art like this? I mean, we are supposed to be the most advanced civilization. It sure doesn't look like that when you compare it.
Is this real art? Did somebody really do this?
To modern art. I mean, after all, we did put men on the moon, right? Right? Well, according to the great astronaut Don Pettit.
Look at the detail. You can see the little holes in the whatever that is.
We destroyed that technology, and we lost that technology in the film and telemetry, and it's a painful process to build that back. Oh, but hey, we're supposed to go back soon. Right after they figure out how to make the spacesuit for the moon. I thought they sorted that out in the 60s, personally, but I guess they didn't call a museum to get that out of storage. Fairy tales of the moon aside, culture is reflected in its art. And what does our culture's art show us today? Does any of it stack up to these works from hundreds, thousands of years ago? I mean, just look at that marble stonework. It looks like it was almost frozen in time rather than carved. There are a few good stoneworkers, a few good sculptors today, but nothing comes close to what we see from the past. Now the art scene of modern times is more of a tax write-off.
Dang, that was hot.
Puts a red X on a canvas and charges $30 million for it. Art, like the architecture, is supposed to uplift and inspire. That's what you get when you look at these. Very little modern art does that today. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
The Moorish Tartarians, the airship, they brought this piece. This is an easy job. They probably did this in 4 weeks. They probably got this done, you know.
Let's talk about star forts. So what is a star fort? What is the purpose of star forts? Thus, star forts or bastion forts were built as they maximized defensiveness against cannonball impacts and offered better protection and better views of the battlefield for those inside the fort. Well, that's the official narrative. So star forts are these star-shaped, almost like snowflake-shaped type forts or cities. And what's really fascinating, you can find star forts all across our realm, not just in America. I'll show you some examples. Here's a star fort in Italy. And according to the narrative, Venetian architect Vincenzo Scamozzi built this 9-pointed star fort in 1593 under the ideals of utopia inspired by Sir Thomas More's Utopia. They even got star forts in Canada. Apparently the Canadian star fort was built in 1749, and the current shape was built in 1846. And today it operates as a historic site. You can also find them in Goryokaku, Japan, and it was built in 1855. Here's an aerial view of that same star fort. Very beautiful and very interesting. Here's a star fort in France, apparently built during the 17th century. Here's a star fort in Copenhagen, built in 1664. Again with that same design and similar shape. Here's a star fort in the Netherlands, one of the most well-preserved examples of a star fort. It apparently was built in 1593. It was converted from a fort to a village in 1851. Another very interesting fact is that the Statue of Liberty is actually on a star fort. Here's the bird's eye view of the Statue of Liberty. Yup, it's on a star fort.
Wow, that is interesting. They haven't been telling us the whole truth about the Statue of Liberty, have they?
So all across our realm, you see these star forts, star-shaped cities. And we're told that their only purpose and design was just as a defense mechanism against enemies. It's almost as if these star forts found all across our realm belonged to a single empire. Maybe one that existed long ago and the current nations living there took over, rewrote history and said, we built these. This is a star fort in Maryland, apparently built in 1798, and it's most well known for the inspiration for the national anthem. So who built these beautiful, intricate, advanced looking structures in the 1800s and before? Well, let's take a look who they're telling us built these. This is Goryokaku, Japan. Star forts were not limited to the Western world. This example in Japan was built in 1855. Here's the aerial view one more time. And these are the type of people that lived during this time. And according to the narrative, they built it. Same goes for the star fort in Maryland. This is the star fort, and these are apparently the type of people that built that star fort. Horse and buggy people. So I wonder, what was the true purpose of these star cities, these star forts? Here's that really well-preserved star fort in the Netherlands. And these are the types of people that lived during that time. Even architects say that to build that kind of stuff, you need CAD technology, which is apparently something the old world didn't have. Like if we wanted to build star forts today, we would need CAD technology. So how did these horse and buggy people do it? Or did these people just inherit this world, rewrote the history, rewrote who built some of these buildings, and just took over? I don't know. There's a lot of strange, mysterious stuff happening during the 1800s and before. Like the architecture during this time just doesn't really...
Alright, I wanted to bring up an important point here. If we look at this beautiful photo of this building, you could see how this stuff could be dropped. An airship can carry this whole top piece, drop it on. This was completed. This building was completed piece by piece. If you notice, all these Tartarian buildings, they are completely flat. They have great foundation. They knew how to pick their location for their building. That you had to be able to select a good foundation for these buildings. These airships just came right along. They started dropping these pieces piece by piece. However the bigger the piece could be would depend on how much weight the airship could carry. But I'm telling you, they can get these places. That would explain how quickly these things were built as well. Damn, we just figured it out. Oh, we figured it out. Because it doesn't take long if you don't lean on your own understanding. I'm telling you, man, we figured it out. The airships did it. So people are wondering, how are these things built? We don't know. And how are they built fast? Because according to them, these structures was built in 6 months. That's just however long it took for the airships to go to the Moores warehouse, the Moores factory, the Tartarian factory. Who knows where it was? It could be in the middle of the Grand Canyon for all I know. That could explain why it got excavated out for all these red brick minerals. Oh my goodness. What if the actual foundry of oh my goodness. Damn, the pieces are adding up, y'all. The pieces are adding up. Where do y'all think all these red bricks came from? What if all these red bricks came from the Grand Canyon? Everywhere you look, what if originally these erected buildings? Oh my goodness. What if the red brick was from the Grand Canyons? Oh, that would make a lot of sense. Because if you look at where the airships took all these different buildings, there had to be a mass factory. I remember playing this game called Age of Empires. You had to go back to your factory to get everything. What if there was one giant factory in the Grand Canyon and they were excavating all of it out, getting all these different resources, and they just had some massive producing the buildings, and all you needed was these airships to come. This is your first ever shipping and receiving team. The shipping and receiving team, shout out to all my Ford truck drivers that's on their Ford trucks right now. You got a shipping and receiving team that's coming to this Tartarian Moores warehouse, picking up all these different buildings materials, and they're dropping it on these great foundations piece by piece. People are sitting here wondering, man, how fast how are they able to do it this fast? This is exactly how, and I'm telling you. Now here's the scary part. They left us here. If you're sitting here watching this video with me and you're in one of these 7 continents, I have bad news for you. They left us here. If you are watching this in the United States, if you're watching us in America, if you're watching us in the UK, wherever you're watching this at, your lineage was left here. You know, we're coming into this new knowledge, or we're being awakened that Egypt could possibly be in America. Okay? It could be the promised land. I don't know. We're just gathering as much information as we can. We're just surfing these dark waters, and we're just reaching out to different information. That's all we're doing, but we're keeping the sword and shield on us. So if we take all that into consideration and we look at the Grand Canyon, that could possibly be the giant warehouse where they could be getting everything, you know? But back to the point, my fault. Back to the point I was trying to make. They left us here, you know? The Moores, Tartarians, there were descendants here. You can't tell me if they can drop a building just like this in China and they can drop one in America. They went far beyond our reach. I'm telling you, they all got on those airships and they set a destination for cryo sleep. That's how far they could have went away. They could have went 6 months away on those airships. They all could have said, all right, we're done. Y'all can have these buildings. Y'all going to destroy them anyway, whatever. So they all got on their airships, the Moors Tartarians, and they went far beyond our reach. Y'all, like they probably went 6 months worth of airships on full speed. The pilot just put the airship on full speed, full throttle, and fell asleep at the wheel. They're up in the stratosphere, so they don't have to worry about anything interrupting them, and they found new land. Until a cherubim knocked them out of the sky and said, look, y'all getting too far. That's for another video. They was on the airships and they went too far, and then the cherubim hit them out the sky. It was like, okay, we can't go this far. We got to turn around, and we lost 2 airships over here. We got to turn around and go over here to this land, because if we go too far, it's this monster with 3 different faces that's attacking us. Because they do talk about cherubims being on this world. So I just feel like we're in the center of it. So we're really safe. You know what I'm saying? But if you go too far out there, there's no telling what's really beyond there, what type of monsters lay on the outer lands. But that's where I honestly believe the Tartarians are right now. The Moors Tartarians, any real descendant that had access to this, they're probably not even receiving this message. Or if y'all are, we found out what happened. Y'all left us here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all said, look, we see what that's going on. We ain't fighting with them. They can have that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And they just went to new land. What's going on in those new lands? I don't know. The temperatures, the possibilities, I don't know. They speak about new lands. I couldn't tell you. We would have to refer to the moon map to, learn more about the more lands, but that makes sense now. If you correlate what the moon map is looking like, and you put where our 7 continents are, there's more land out there, is what I'm saying. And I believe that's where the Moors Tartarians are without a doubt. Because if they had the technology to drop these airships, they had these airships dropping these type of buildings, they could drop these buildings wherever. The thing is they would need to make a foundry somewhere, not too far from their voyage, if you will, if that makes sense. If y'all still with me and following me what I'm saying, they would need some type of foundry with the materials to transport it to their new location where they were going to go. Because say they got to their new land, how would they make it work? You know what I'm saying? And that would explain how these things got knocked down and was being rebuilt. You know what I'm saying? They didn't knock them down. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they destroyed them. They picked them up and moved them like a manufactured house. If you ask me, they took and moved them as many times. The building they probably using, these buildings could probably be in 4 different locations. They were showing off the World Fair. Oh, we created this dome. We're going to move it. If you ask me, being on these dark waters, that's what I figured out. For entertainment purposes only. For y'all that's still with me listening to this, that's what I think honestly happened. Your thoughts below. Let's continue diving on these waters. We're making movies now and we're taking our time with this. We got to get to the bottom of this and figure it out. But this, if you ask me how these are getting built, and they didn't tear them down that fast, they moved them. I haven't heard anybody say this. That's what I think. The scary part is, where did they all go? What land did they choose is the question. We know they got up and dipped, but what land did they choose? That, like I said, they could have traveled They could have gotten those airships. The pilot put that thing on full speed and fell asleep, woke up, and they could have been voyaging for 6 months. For all we know, they could have stocked up those airships and been on a voyage for 6 months until, you know, a cherubim or something with 3 faces, you know, zipped and beamed them out the sky. You know, I'm like, oh, we went too far. We gotta back up, turn around. I see ahead that, you know, they fighting some type of monster that's we haven't never seen. We're going way too far. We gotta back up and go somewhere else. That's just my thoughts, you know. But if we look at the technology we have now, you talking about a jet plane. A jet plane doesn't have the resources or the fuel to go that fast, to go that far. If you look at, you know, I don't care what type of air vehicle you think about, it's going to need fuel. They talk about how many millions of dollars in fuel, you know, those jet planes spend. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? What if these airships just was coasting? You know, they didn't need the resources that it would take for it to continue flight. It just had to stabilize itself. It could have been getting recharged off in the ether. They could have figured out a way to conduct because they already in the highest part of the atmosphere. Who knows what type of ether those airships are generating, you know? Some of them might not even come down. They might just have a cloaking mechanism and just stay up there this entire time. Like, man, I don't even want to go back down. Only when I have to. When we need some food, every 5 years we'll come down and, you know, get you know, whatever we need. I'll be trying to grow my own cattle and everything and, you know, get my cattle going, my vegetables. I'll try to figure out how to grow something on them airships. But ask yourself something, you know. Before I move on, I just want you to ask yourself something. If you had the technology and you knew there was different lands and you had the technology, you and a group of people had the technology to leave these lands and go somewhere else, what are you going to do? You going to sit and try to knuck if you buck your way, you know, through everyone around you? Or you going to be like, look, man, we just going to take this technology and we going to dip. You know, y'all win. Y'all can have this. I'm not going to fight y'all. We trying to do some peace and prosperity going on until, you know, the king arrive. That's my thoughts on it. They probably off on the island chilling, but what do you think about all this? Y'all let me know. All right, guys, here's my thoughts on how everything got built by the Moorish Tartarians. Basically, they had a factory, a location where they had these flying airships, and they had their master builders the best. They had some type of laser etching technology, and they built everywhere you see, piece by piece. They were manufactured in one location, and then they had these flying vehicles drop everything off. This is my personal beliefs of how the Moorish Tartarians were able to build all these extravagant buildings. If you look at the palace, it looked like it still had some stuff that could be dropped off. You look at all these flat surface top things, all these things could be flown and dropped off. How they did it, what's powering them, I don't know. A Mercury rectifier, it beats me. But if you had to ask me, my best guess would be these pieces were pre-built. All these cathedrals, all these Greek-style, Tartarian, Moorish-style buildings, they were built piece by piece. You just needed a firm foundation. And these airships dropped them off. They dropped them off everywhere. That's how you get these crazy looking artistic buildings on top of a mountain. How else are they going to build that castle in Germany? You know, you see all these different buildings in the middle of nowhere. The airships dropped them off. It makes complete sense. I am almost 1,000% sure, for entertainment purposes only, I'm almost 1,000% sure that's what happened to all the Tartarians. They got on these airships and bounced. And what's left over is what's left over. Like what happened to the Great Wall of China. If you guys don't know what's happened to the Great Wall of China, go back and check my older videos out where it explains the Great Wall of China becomes the Great Wall of Tartaria. And they just left it there. Matter of fact, we're going to go back and I'm going to show you that. They just left it there. and said, look, you can have it. Because if you look on the walls of the Tartarian, of the Great Wall of Tartaria, they are aimed against China. Like they trying to keep China out of where the Tartarians was. So if you ask me, they got up and left. They said, look, I'm tired. We're tired of dealing with whatever's going on, or some type of fight broke out. And they had to dip. Either or, they had to dip. This is what I believe the Moorish and the Tartarians was doing in the Grand Canyon to get all those red bricks. They set a couple of these machines around the world, probably getting limestone or whatever they needed. And this is how all the buildings were getting built. You know, it says the Moabites had a giant palace. Who knows? It's the size of Utah. If you ever drive through Utah, it is massive. Can you imagine the amount of material it would need to craft those red bricks? We should type that in ChatGPT and see how much would it cost to make a giant palace the size of Utah. You know, how many materials would it need? I guarantee you it would, you know, be equivalent to the size of the Grand Canyon. They probably dug that boy out just to get all the red brick. Who knows? You know? I wonder if you could test some of those ancient buildings. You scrape, you know, some of the red brick off there, and you scrape something in the Red Canyon, you know, compare them, you know? This my thoughts. You know, we on these dark waters. We've been on them for a minute, man. We haven't shaved in weeks. You know, we haven't been on land in weeks, so that's just my thoughts. For all you guys following me, there is still one thing that still boggles my mind about America being Egypt, and it is, where is Rome then? All this stuff took place about Rome. Where would Rome be located in? So I hope this video sheds a little light on that. I haven't watched it yet, but let's check it out and see if it sheds a little light on where Rome could possibly be in America. If everything happened in the promised land, if United States was the promised land, let's see if everything can correlate still on this journey. Drop in the comments below if you already know some stuff. Please, by all means. I'm doing my best trying to figure it out on my own, but hey, I listen to you guys if you got something to say.
Served another purpose. And here at one point I jumped up to show you the tops. Let me zoom into this one. You can see something else was going on. And this looks like an 1800s road running through the center here. Just a crooked, stupid road. I mean, if they made all of this perfection 150 years ago, straight as an arrow, wouldn't you have at least a perfect road down here? Let me show you the floor here. So here is the floor in the kiln. Some of them were complete, and some had sections removed, like we can see here. And underneath this, you had more brick, as I showed you at the entryway. So many different layers. Look at the large stone here, these larger ones that the bricks are sitting on. Then you have another type of dressed stone, and then more brick under that, as we can see here. Completely built out underneath these kilns. And the next time I come here, I'm bringing a shovel and a pickaxe, and we're gonna see how far down this really goes. Here, just to give you an idea, brick meeting this larger block, and bricks underneath it, and more underneath. And you see how the heat actually appears to have been on the outside, not on the inside. More heat damage on the outside of these buildings. And here you can see the crude, broken opening. Again, no sign of the original opening, as if there wasn't an opening. Every single one, 700 of them, had to be roughly cracked in this fashion? It just doesn't make any sense. And the whole time I'm just perplexed with this, what we would be told is mud or dirt that has been piled around them. And the more I looked at it, the more it seemed like this was just matter that had turned to this. Because it would be very difficult to pack or expect dirt to sit on the side of a structure. And I'll show you one coming up soon here that really depicts this well. And we'll just jump to that right now. So this one, This one was in the far back. On my way out, I hit this spot. It seems like it had been cleared out here. And here we go. That's when I walked up to the side of this oven, and everything just hit me like a ton of bricks. Nobody packed this dirt on the side here. You don't just pack mud and dirt and have it stay on the side of a building. And when I started tapping this, it was just hard as rock. There were bits of rock in it, just clinging to the side. No. That's when it became clear to me that all of this on top is the remains. It's the absolute cooked out remains that has turned soft and re-solidified. And this is what we're left with. What looks like dirt is actually part of the structure. And actually what fared best is this brick. This brick served its job. It actually protected against the reset. Whatever this event was, just destroyed everything, turning whatever was on top here into dirt. And yet the kiln, the deeper in the kiln you go, the better preserved everything is. And I walked up here, and I grabbed a chunk of this rock upon having this realization. Here you go. You see what I'm talking about? It's all bits of rock and brick just rendered into this crust. And when I grabbed a chunk of this brick, as I do here, this one, even from afar I could see a little crease running down the center and very sharp angles. And I grabbed it, and it was a brick. Let me see if I can play that. At some point I tapped it, and I wanted you to hear how brick-like it was. But
the structure looks Roman, by the way.
This was it in a nutshell. It doesn't answer a lot of questions. Again, I don't know what these really could have been. Have you ever seen anything like this? Anything on the top of a building that resembles this, or... I'm just not sure. But I am sure that it's not what they tell us. Two different eras to examine here. And upon parting, I asked myself, where have I seen so many bricks and anything that resembles what we're seeing out here? And it brought me to Fort Jefferson and all the star forts, really.
Damn!
No other structures seem to employ this feature, in which we still don't really know the purpose. So that's it. I thank you for joining me today. Do have a blessed day. I love you all, and I'll see you next week.
Happened, something got obliterated, melted that building. What exactly happened, I don't know, but there are clues that Rome could possibly be in the United States. The whole biblical story could be in the United States. It's a strong possibility. All the evidence is being laid out on the table, and we're going to examine it. We're going to discern it with our eyes, and we're going to do our own research and come up with our own conclusions.
No, he's a sick man, a wanderer.
No, I want to see who it is.
He hasn't a friend or a family.
He's a Moor.
He's a human being.
Do you want to become acquainted with the Inquisition?
Pedro. Pedro.
What? I'm afraid that my end is very near. I'd be...
Capture. I hope Marquita doesn't wake up. She's a good wife, but she's a woman.
Who did you bring to the house so late at night?
Be calm now. He's a sick man, a wanderer.
No, I want to see who it is.
He hasn't a friend or a family.
He's a Moor.
He's a human being.
Do you want to become acquainted with the Inquisition?
Pedro. Pedro.
What?
I'm afraid that my end is very near. I bequeath you this little box for your kindness when you open it.
God is merciful. It'll still be of use to you.
When you open it.
He's dead. God help us.
I feel so sorry for him.
You should be sorry for us. We'll be sent to prison for giving shelter to a Moor. outside at once and bury it somewhere.
Shall we begin, Senor Judge?
Anything of interest that you can tell me?
Yesterday, the Toreador Castellaros killed 2 bulls and wounded a 3rd. The 4th bull killed Castellaros. Jose Antonio, a traitor and heretic, was burned on the eve of Holy Sunday. Robbery, murder, burial, all in one night.
What was that you said?
Pedro concealed a Moor and buried him.
And all in one night?
Yes, and I know the booty was a big one.
Naturally. Otherwise, there'd be no point in murdering the wretched heretic. Now, Pedro will have to answer before me for his actions.
Do you know how highly I esteem justice?
Everyone knows, Your Honor, its weight in gold.
Listen, you cutthroat. It won't help to deny your guilt. I know everything.
I swear to God, we're not guilty.
The person that you in your house was a Moor, an enemy of our faith.
The gallows, that's the proper reward for a hideous crime like yours. But we shall consider that you murdered the Moor in a passion of Christian benevolence. You understand, my son?
Understand, scoundrel.
And for that, the court will be lenient to you.
Return the property.
And we'll drop the case.
I swear for the salvation of my soul, I didn't commit any murder, and he had nothing at all except a small redwood box, which he willed to me.
Why didn't you say so, you cutthroat? Where's that redwood box?
Where is it?
Where'd you conceal it, villain?
Where is it?
With the donkey, Your Honor. With my donkey in one of the baskets.
You think, my boy, that you can fool us?
Just hang him. Release him. Keep an eye on him.
Well then, water carrier, this is your good fortune. I'm releasing you in goodwill and peace. And you can take your silly box as well. But in payment for all the expenses and fees of court, this court withholds your donkey named Pecco.
Don't take Pickle. We have children.
Everyone has.
Please, can't we do it the other way around, Your Honor? We'll take the donkey with us, huh? And leave you this silly old box.
We don't barter here, my boy.
Go on. Go on. Get out.
You dirty scoundrel. That's the kind of a judge you are. To plunder a poor man like I am. To deprive me of my only means of making a living. He takes away my only friend, my Pecco. I miss you so, my faithful friend. My heart is full.
Don't take pickles.
Sorrow. The world to me seems at an end. Will fate be kind to us tomorrow? You found no happiness, alas. Your life was never really mellow. Though you are nothing but an ass, you've got more sense than any fellow. I don't regret having been honest with that poor old Moor. But to get a box like this instead of my donkey, and to have to drag water on my own back,
No, it's too much.
Holy Virgin, the Moor. That which is written on the parchment is magic.
Guys, I appreciate you for staying on these movies with me. If you made it this far, encouragement to keep your boy going and making these movies. Is that a hole in my shirt? Oh, no, that's not a hole. I just want to say thank you for watching these movies with your boy. These longer boys, that's all we're doing now, man. That's all I can do is these longer boys. And I just want to say thank you for chilling with your boy, man. Every one of y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for helping me out on these dark waters. I couldn't do it without you. All of you guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't be on these dark waters without you. And I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. And I might take a break tomorrow, man. I need a day of rest being on these waters, man. I'm gonna keep it real, but who knows? I might do a live at least. I might at least go live. If you would like to see me go live, put in the comments you would like to see me go live as well. And I gotta chop this boy up. This is a long video. I'm gonna do my best to chop it up for you. And I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Oxygen levels.
10% remaining oxygen levels
Yeah, we
stay
gotta
on
go.
critical.
Peace out.